Welcome to Talkin' with Dave. Put your hands together for the pastor of positivity whose glass is always at least half full. Here's Dave.
Hey, how we doing out there? I hope you're doing great. I am top shelf and ready to go. Ready to make it happen. I got to tell you, I don't know if I'm surprised or not. I've learned not to be surprised, but I'm a little shocked. I'm shocked at all of the emails and requests I'm getting on dealing with toxic people. Just an almost overwhelming number. So I put this to the front of the list. You know, and I get it. How do I deal with these toxic people? How do I exterminate them from my life without hurting their feelings because I love them? Okay, well, clearly we need to, and I'm not talking about a couple. I'm not talking about a comment. It's happening, man. There are a lot of toxic people out there, and we'll talk through it, but you look at our culture and our situation, a lot of stuff we've talked about, it breeds toxic behavior. And I think that's what we have to deal with, is the behavior. Because if the behavior changed, the people aren't that bad. It's the behavior. It's what's causing it. So we'll dig into it. It's a serious topic. I don't mean to make light of it, although I did see, I've heard some funny quotes. I call them funny. There's just some quotes around it. Some people create storms, then get mad when it rains. I remember, the old management. They call it seagull management. They come in, they make a lot of squawking noises, they crap on everybody, complain because you stink, and then fly away. That's toxic behavior. Another one I heard, you can't change someone who enjoys being a problem. Oh, think of somebody. People that enjoy it. They like to put grit in the gears. They like to come in, create a situation, and sometimes sit around and watch it, but other times leave and just let it percolate. Yeah. Then I heard some people are like clouds. When they disappear, it's a beautiful day. Yeah, that's a little mean. It's true, though. Then a longer one I heard. This is the last one, I promise. You can't argue with a toxic person. It's like playing chess with a pigeon. They knock over all the pieces, poop on the board, and then strut around like they won. Yeah, that's it, man. That is toxic. So toxic refers to actions, or maybe even an attitude or a communication style. All of these that are harmful, manipulative. We'll go through all the characteristics of it. But, think of people as we talk through this. And I want to dwell on it for a minute. I don't like to talk negative. However, you'll see in a minute why I want you, when I talk about these traits, think about certain people. And you can almost, if somebody has one trait, okay, it could be a situation, a bad mood, a one-off. But when they have several of these characteristics or behavior patterns, all right, there's a little more to it than that. So think about this. Somebody that's constantly criticizing or belittling, manipulating, somebody that's totally manipulating somebody or a situation and then gaslighting. They do something and then they disappear for a while. And then what their actions or their attitudes fester. Somebody that refuses to take any responsibility. It's all about fault and blame. No responsibility. Anybody come into mind? Somebody that's just always so negative. Debbie Downers. They're pessimistic about everything. It's tough, man. That's tough. Maybe somebody's controlling for jealous reasons. That manipulation comes into this, but they have to control the situation. They're always ordering people around, or they jump to the forefront. They have to control for jealous reasons. And then I'm telling you, just probably one of the most toxic behaviors is just dishonesty, no integrity. You can't believe a word they say. Another just quick adjectives around toxicity. Toxicity takes me back to System of a Down. Abusive, manipulative, harmful, negative, controlling, draining. They take all of your energy. Poisonous. I guess that's the true definition of toxic. Of course, it's destructive, but corrosive. Corrosive, meaning it just, it builds and gets on everything. Hostile. Yeah. So did anybody come to mind on these? We'll dig in a little further on some of these, but some of the most common characteristics, let's just talk about them a little more in detail, because you may think one thing when it's really another. But manipulative, they use other people to get what they want. They'll guilt. They'll guilt trip you into getting what they want, or they even deceive you just to manipulate to get something they want. It can be something big, or it can be to go where they want to go for lunch instead of where you want to go. Yeah, they'll manipulate the slightest things or the big things. The negative side is they complain, but also they focus on the worst in every situation, worst case scenario. And it just pulls all the energy out of the group. It makes you not even want to go or talk about it or do it. And then when they control, they try to dominate your decisions. Anybody come into mind? Whether it's your decision or your mood, even your beliefs. I've had people who are, believe another belief system, another religion, or an atheist, or things like that. And they try to control things, and they belittle, or they discredit what you believe. The controlling people, the controlling toxic people, they have no regard for boundaries, none. You try to set them, these people with that are staunch toxic controllers, you're not going to be able to set boundaries, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. They're not going to have it. They don't see boundaries. The blame shifting is tough. They no responsibility, but they blame others for their problems. And then when they do something, their behavior, well, it's not my fault. I had a rough childhood. Or when I'm around that person, I can't control my actions. They do this to me. Please. These are jealous people. Very envious. Anything that you have, anything that you get, they're jealous of it, or they're envious of it because they're struggling. These are the people who have to have it better or worse, and they take almost as much satisfaction in either. They're very extreme in their jealousy or their envy. The dishonesty gets me, man. A lot of these get me, but the dishonesty, they'll just lie. What's the old saying? My granddad used to say, and I don't think he came up with it, but that boy would climb a tree to tell a lie when he could stand on the ground and tell the truth. They just lie to manipulate or to embellish, or just because it's easy to them. It's not even necessary. Not that it's ever necessary, but they create that web. Even if they're telling the truth, you start to doubt it, And I think there's a difference in being overly critical and overly negative. But they're overly critical in that they don't just criticize, but they'll judge and belittle. They'll just push down to make themselves feel more superior. They have no empathy. Very little empathy. Sometimes they'll fake empathy to endear themselves and then come right back in with something selfish. Oh, and these are your dramatic people. Whew. They have little facts to stand on, so they really thrive on conflict and chaos. So they want to stir up some drama. They want to manipulate, get people on their side. A lot of times before something happens, they'll be lobbying. They'll be lobbying to get people on their side. And then, they're passive aggressive. Instead of addressing issues directly, that might point fingers at them. Well, they can't have that. So they express their anger or resentment subtly so that they can say, I was just joking. Or, I didn't mean it that way. But if it takes hold, oh yeah, they love it. So, I've gone on a bit of anybody come to mind? Anybody come to mind? Yeah, I know. Time for a sip of coffee. I should probably take something other than coffee. So the question is, do toxic people realize they're toxic? Do they know this about themselves? I think many people don't. I don't think they get it. I think long-term toxic people have been toxic for a while. It's more their nature rather than a mood or a phase they're going through. A lot of times it's a deep-seated habit. Maybe they've been through some trauma or some emotional situations that's unresolved. But I heard it described by one person is with their toxic behavior, there is an emotional blind spot. Like in a car or a truck or something, there's that place you can't see that's behind you. You actually have to turn around and look. Yeah. I think a lot of toxic people, that's it. I think they feel like it's not toxic. I'm just being honest. I'm a go-getter. I'm persuasive. I'm proactive. I'm strategic. They substitute some of those behaviors we talked about for the more palatable ones, or things that are actually accomplished. They've convinced themselves this to some degree. This is good behavior. This is positive behavior. Because they're not taking accountability. They don't see a victim. They're out there getting it done. In a lot of cases, it's just a lack of self-awareness. Maybe they're emotionally not mature enough to see it, or they don't see the impact. And part of this is our fault. Our fault. I've just classified myself as non-toxic. There are probably people probably think I'm toxic. They're wrong. Stop it. However, a lot of the reason I say part of this is our fault, I'll say my fault, is because never called them out directly. Never really addressed it. Never put them on the spot. And see, these people like to surround themselves with people who don't challenge them. And the way they do this is they pick weak people or they steamroll to where no one puts the brakes on it. And it's worked for them. It's worked for them so far. So that's why a lot of them, they just don't see it. But others, they're fully aware of it. They know, man. They know. A lot of times it's more common if they're not in good, stable relationships. And I'm talking whether it's their partner or their home life or whatever. I mean, they may have some, psychological or emotional or physical abuse in their past or present. Okay, I'm not making excuses for them, but they realize it. And, of course, that toxic person will blame it on that. Their narcissistic behaviors, I don't like calling people narcissists, but the narcissistic or antisocial traits, that kicks in. And they may realize that, but they don't, they put the blame on that rather than take responsibility for it. And then they've just been in a situation or grown up or worked or been surrounded with a situation where being manipulative or controlling has been rewarding in the past. So that's not toxic. That's how I get what I want. And that's where some of that calculated behavior comes in. Yeah, they're toxic on purpose, but they see it as, this is what I do to get what I want. It's very selfish. And then here's the sad thing. Some realize it, but they realize it too late after the damage is done. I don't like being around when that happens. And they'll blame past relationships on other things. If they face a crisis or if they do get that strong feedback, a lot of times, they're very defensive or they just deny it. Or maybe they just break into some deep shame or guilt, which, that's not good either. They need to know, but it's not, just so they can get on a different path. And then, hopefully, okay, they'll accept it. All right, I did that. Shame, guilt, get through that. And all right, I'm going to change. Now, this is Pollyanna. This is glass half full. And hopefully this will happen. But the bottom line is, whether they realize it or not depends on how self-aware are they. A lot of it goes back to emotional intelligence or emotional maturity. And how willing are they to listen? When we talk about all those traits, they've got to be in control, and they're manipulative and they're dishonest. How willing are they to listen to some feedback? And a lot of times it is only certain people that can give them that feedback, because others, it would be they just deny it. No, even if I need to hear it, I don't want to hear it from you. Yeah, but not every toxic person is malicious. I think that's one thing to remember when you look through this. They're not all corrosive and intentionally malicious. Sometimes they're just selfish. Boundaries are tough. Boundaries are tough for some people. So let's talk about some ways to get through their charming side. There's a lot of people, and I've heard this come through. I've got this friend. They're fantastic. I love them. I've loved them for years. They're so much fun to be around X% of the time. But I know they're toxic. Or you meet someone. This is very common. You meet somebody, or you bring somebody into your circle, and everybody is just like, oh, that person's toxic. And you just don't see it. What, are you kidding me? They're hilarious. Oh, they're so smart. They're so much fun to be around. Well, part of this can be till the newness wears off. But how do you see through that facade? To see or to recognize. And I'm not saying look for it on purpose. Don't look for toxic behavior. But sometimes, it's too late for you too. You've been fooled. Nobody needs that. So what are some things to look for that mask toxicity in a person? So look for inconsistency between what they say and what they do. Actions speak louder than words. So true. So true. I mean, somebody that's charming, they can say the right things, but they don't follow through. They have these great ideas, and they're so nice and complimentary, but they don't act that way. It's the Eddie Haskell situation. Remember on Leave It to Beaver? He would be just talking trash about someone, and then here come the Cleavers in, and oh, hello, Mrs. Cleaver, you look lovely today. I was just expanding on and say some glowing vocabulary, and then they leave, and it's different. Toxic people will do that right in front of you. Notice that. Purple car theory on all of these. Once you see it more often. And pay attention to patterns. Not a one-off. Anybody can have a bad day, a bad moment. But did they break promises? Did they blame? Did they shift blame? Did their stories change a little bit? You've been around that person before that tells a story, and then somebody comes in, they tell the story again, but there's a subtle difference there. Huh. Yeah. They act different when nobody's watching. And then notice how they treat other people. Not just you. I mean, you may be the source of manipulation, or you may be in their circle to where they let you see them manipulate others. But see how they treat other people. Toxic charmers. You know the term love bomb. Oh, when they meet somebody new, I know some people that, I dread it when they meet somebody new, because they have to tell them or show them how funny, how smart, how desirable they are. And you talk about a love bomb. It is a fog. Oh my goodness. It's something, but watch this. Well, here's a really good way to see somebody that's toxic, but likes to hide it. How do they treat the server? How do they treat a coworker or someone that's maybe a little below them on the org chart, or someone that they would perceive as less important? I used to go into places with sales guys and I'll be observing, and they need to speak to this person, and the receptionist is right there, and they treat the receptionist like crap. Well, a lot of time that receptionist or the person at the door is related to the owner. That's how they get their start. It doesn't matter. You treat people with respect, but that's a great way to see somebody that's toxic. And then part of it is you gotta, sometimes you have a gut reaction or other people have a gut reaction. So what I mean by that is somebody is just a little too perfect, you know? They just seem like, man, they've got it all together. Maybe a little too much. And then after the interaction, you're drained or you're anxious or something's just not right about that. You know, maybe you've met those people with charm, but there's no real warmth. You know, I got it. I got the window dressing. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know, a subtle sense of something's not just right. Trust that feeling. Yeah. And then there's some other ways. Toxic charmers, they're gonna give you unsolicited advice. That's what they do. They can't help themselves. But it's to protect you from others. It's for you. That's control disguised as care is what that is. Yeah, they want to create I'm looking out for you. These other people, they don't care, but I'm looking out for you. They want to create some sort of dependency, but they frame it as caring or loyalty or, concern. I'm concerned. And I don't, when somebody says they're concerned, I want you to believe them, but you got to also look out for that control disguised as care. You know, true care, it empowers you. If they really care, they're empowering you to make your own decisions. Control disguised as care is, you need my help to get through this. Instead of, you can get through this, you know what to do. There's subtle difference. That's why some of this toxicity, you don't realize it till after the damage is done. So I guess one of the litmus tests, remember litmus paper? How can something that was just almost a throwaway with the litmus paper in 9th grade science, it was a throwaway. We did it one day. How can that be the litmus test for everything? I haven't thought about that. That is powerful. I don't even remember the details of it. However, the litmus test for a toxic person, how do they handle criticism? Even that most charming, toxic person, they don't like to be questioned. And I think back, I don't like to be questioned, especially if I'm so sure and so confident. Many times it's okay. Yeah, bring it. That way I can even support my case or listen to something new. But if I'm along the lines and if I feel like you're just being toxic, I don't want you questioning me because I know you're being toxic. So that's why you have to look at this. But toxic people, they can't stand to be questioned. They're going to deflect it. They're going to give you a guilt trip. They're going to get defensive. They're going to try to punish you for how dare you question this. That's when they will point out how they're superior to you. A person with genuine character that's not toxic, they want that feedback. They won't try to manipulate it. Now, when I've worked with teams, and those of you who've worked with me know this, I want feedback. Give me feedback. Let's talk about it. I don't want a bunch of yes men. Beat me up. Do it. I'm asking for that. All right, that's not toxic at all. That person who, I'm thinking, and I'm going to be honest, when I know you're toxic, I'm going to react like a toxic person back. Just because I know you're not coming from a sincere point of view. You're just wanting to manipulate. You're wanting to control. You're wanting to build a consensus against me. All right, I'll be toxic right back. And I don't know that that's the right thing. This is a little offside. This is free. Put it over here. So that's when I react poorly to criticism or questioning, a lot of times that's it. But that's it. How do they react to criticism? Great litmus test. So why do we put up with them? Why do we put up with toxic people? You know, I said earlier, how do I get rid of toxic people without hurting their feelings? Because I love them. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. You know, we put up that deal. Well, is it worth it? You know, if they're 90% toxic, 90% good and 10% toxic, is it worth it? It's kind of like beer math, you know? So let's talk about it because it's serious. I mean, we're talking about some serious stuff here. Why do we put up with it? Let's get through this before we get to some how-tos. A lot of it is just, we're not toxic, so we have empathy and compassion. They don't. You know, good people tend to see the best in others. That's good. That's good. I think over time we become more skeptical, but we believe with enough love and patience and understanding, we can change them or they'll change on their own. You know, a lot of people are fixers. I can fix them. The bad thing is when you marry this person, I can fix them. Oh, please. But we have a lot of empathy and compassion, so that's why we put up with them. Another thing is, they may be toxic, but they're all I got. A lot of people think standing up to toxic behavior, first of all, they're afraid to do it. You know, they're afraid of confrontation or the backlash. And, oh, my goodness, I don't want to be alone. And the crazy thing is I'd rather be with this person who makes me miserable than to be alone. But, hey, when you're in the throes of it, it's real. So toxic individuals often will exploit that fear. They can sense it. They got control, man. They got control. And they'll make other people feel guilty or responsible for the relationship falling apart. And you know it. Deep down, you know it. Yeah. It's going to blow up. It's going to be they're going to make it all my fault. And they're going to tell everybody. You don't even think about how other people are reading the situation. How many times have you got out of a toxic relationship, friend, partner, work, otherwise, and then other people saying, yeah, I don't know how you put up with that person. It's constant. Yeah, I know. A lot of times the reason we put up with it is maybe our self-esteem or self-worth isn't where it needs to be. That's a good analysis too. You know, if you're struggling with that, you may rationalize that mistreatment or blame yourself or think, I don't deserve better than this. This is what I get. Toxic people will thrive on that. They'll sense that, and they will, and they'll even erode your confidence more over time. They will reinforce that. Yeah, I know you have had a rough time in the past, and that's probably why you haven't been more successful. Yeah, that's probably why you don't have that many friends. Yeah, that's probably why you'll never get to where you need to be. You'll probably always be blah blah. But they'll do it in such a subtle and charming. It's a good thing I'm here for you. You know, you don't have to worry about me. I'm here for you. You know, no one else, everyone else is going to avoid you like grim death, but I'm here for you. Uncle Leo. It's not funny. It's not funny, Dave. I know. Sorry. Also, the reason we put up with toxic people is we hope. We hope. Hope is not a strategy, but we hope they'll change. Maybe they're just going through something. Maybe you're in a honeymoon period. You just met them and, yeah, you see all this stuff. But, that 10% is not that bad. And I think if they hang around me and my good friends, maybe they'll change. I've changed people in the past. Well, did you? Toxic behavior, can it be temporary? I guess so. Is it usually? No. No. You know, we hold out hope that the toxic person will go either back to how they used to be, or that percentage of toxicity will diminish, or we will help them see the light as to how they should be, and they will have that Damascus Road conversion, and the toxicity will leak out of every orifice. I had to use orifice today, so I just threw it in there. Yeah, come on, let's be realistic here. Then the last one. Here I hear this a lot. We've invested so much in this person. We just put so much time in there. We've been friends for 20 years. You know, if it's and this can be family, it can be romantic attachment, it can be a college roommate that we were roommates in college and they sleep on my couch, or maybe they've helped me out a couple of times, but it's just easier to put up with it than it is to walk away, Dave. You know? We got so much history together. We got friends, mutual connections. And I still hold out hope for that future that we once talked about. But I just can't let all that go. All right. That is strong. That is a strong glue. All of these are. So that's why we put up with it. So don't beat yourself up for that. You know? Don't beat yourself up for that. However, there are some more valid reasons for addressing this relationship. I'm not saying completely cut it off every time, but there's ways to distance yourself from the toxic behavior. And if it's the toxic people, okay, so be it. One thing, and it doesn't always work, it's set boundaries, set clear boundaries. Now, I said earlier, I know, Randy, you're thinking, okay, Dave, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. Well, it's going to sound like it, but I'm going to clarify right now. I said earlier, some people don't respect boundaries. Okay, I got that. So, Dave, now you're saying, but you got to set boundaries. Yeah, for you. For you. You control your boundaries. You know, electric fence around it, barbed wire, razor wire, whatever you've got to do. You got to be direct about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. You know, for example, I'm not okay with being spoken to like that. If it continues, hey, one of us is going to step away and stick to it. Or however you talk, it's got to be like you talk. You know, it's got to be real. Hey, you don't talk to me that way. It's over, man. We'll get back later, but anytime you talk to me that way, the conversation is over. You got it? Boom. Oh, my goodness. Never done that before. It's going to take them aback. They may react inappropriately. However, you heard what I said. I said, good day, sir. That is a clear boundary. It's set for them. It's really set for you. And the thing is, anytime something like that happens again, that's your trigger to, you remember what I said? And stick to it. You show weakness, their manipulative nature is going to kick in. So set these boundaries. Set these boundaries and put consequences in there. You know what? We haven't been out in a while. We're going to go out, but my friend is going to be there. And I know how you can be when you meet somebody new. They're shy. They're going through a tough time. I need you to act this way. Or more importantly, I need you not to act the way you act sometimes, and that is boom, boom, boom. If that happens, we're going to say goodnight. Are we clear? Any questions? Now, see, the toxic person doesn't like criticism. They may not go. They may blow up. They may explode. All right. But you're setting boundaries. We're going to talk about other parts. You've got to set the boundaries. Remember, they may never have had this happen before. You may have known them for 20 years and not set boundaries. So this is going to take some courage on your part. Another step would be limit the interaction. This is easier than what a lot of people think. Just reduce the time you spend with them. Especially if it's non-essential. Just hang out time with nothing to do. Oh, you're giving a fertile field for bad behavior. Fertile field for bad behavior. But reduce that time unless it's essential. I mean, you work with this person, you're going to have to be around them some, and keep the conversations briefer, focused on something in particular. If you have to interact, like at a job or something, you know, that comes up all the time. Yeah, but this toxic person at work, keep it short and sweet. Don't go out after work. Limit the interaction to whatever degree it can be limited. That helps with the boundary. Yeah, don't accept that meeting. Don't accept that lunch date. Don't accept all other things, because it's easy to have a reason not to. I'm so busy. I've got something else. Or, no, that doesn't work for me. You tell a toxic person no enough, well, they're eventually they don't like that. Now, they may talk bad about you to somebody else. However, they probably already are. Okay, another one. Don't engage in their drama. Stay calm, but stay neutral. You don't have to disagree. Just don't agree. They're probably going to say you did anyway, but avoid getting pulled in to the argument. Because arguments are usually gossip or emotion. It's emotional manipulation. That's what they thrive on. Don't engage in it. Don't engage in it. Hey, no, they're not here. I'm not going to talk about somebody that's not here. That's a boundary. I'm not engaging. Your boundaries aren't for other people alone. They're for yourself. The detachment. Now, detachment's different from limiting your interaction. Detachment is, it's an emotional thing. Emotionally detach from their opinions and their behavior. What they say, it doesn't affect me anymore. It doesn't affect my self-worth. It doesn't affect my mood. It doesn't affect what happens next with me. I have had many, 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 many times where people said, doesn't it bother you when they say that? Let me do this. Married people, at some point, and this isn't nice. I'm not saying it's nice, but at some point, you've heard somebody talk so much, you really don't hear what they're saying. Or they get all upset about something. It's, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Or you have a sibling. It's just white noise. Yeah. It doesn't, but somebody else is like, oh my goodness, did you hear when they said it? Yeah. How does that not bother you? Because you have detached. And it's not necessarily total ignoring, but you're to a place to where it doesn't affect you. It's like, okay, they're going into this mode. Okay, go ahead. I'm not agreeing, but also it's not affecting me like it used to or like it could. It's more difficult when you want to impress this person that's toxic. However, don't get emotionally attached. Detach emotionally from their words or their toxic behavior. Yeah. The best thing is, it's so simple, and I get criticized for this. Surround yourself with supportive people. Yeah, Dave, you say that all the time. I can read the emails to you. Yeah, you say that so much, but I've had these people in my life. I can't just detach from them. I can't just do this. Everything you're saying sounds good. It's great on a podcast, but it's not practical. I don't know that many supportive people. Well, maybe that's another podcast. But invest in time relationships with those people. Make that list. You got these lists of toxic people. Who are the supportive people? And you can't be on both lists. I know what you're thinking. Who supports you? Find people that support you, that respect you. Maybe start with respect and build from that. A lack of respect is inexcusable. So, positive support. It's a lot easier to recognize and walk away from toxic people when you have people that are supporting you and are there for you for the right reasons. All right. Hope we got past that. With toxic people, it's a subtle thing. But it's a difference in being assertive and aggressive. If you're aggressive with a toxic person, they're going to be aggressive right back. But use I statements. Like, I feel uncomfortable when you act this way. I feel uncomfortable when you say that. I feel uncomfortable when you talk to people that way. Instead of, here's what you don't do. A lot of people don't like the way you act. Or, I've been talking to people in some, interviews. Some people say you're this way. No. I feel uncomfortable. I don't like it. It hurts my feelings. Make it personal. It's assertive. It's not aggressive or passive aggressive in that, everybody thinks you suck. Are you one of those? Well, and if you say, I think you suck, that's okay. That might be a little aggressive, but be specific. I feel uncomfortable when you do this. And describe your feeling. There's another tactic. Trust your gut. You like that person, but you want to like them. Well, trust your gut. If you consistently, after an interaction, if you're more drained or more anxious or less positive, okay. Trust your gut. One thing with these people, don't overshare. Oh, they are a sponge. Yeah, they are projecting, boom, 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 but also listening. Whew, anything you say can and will be used against you. Don't go into detail about anything. Why are you upset today? Head hurts a little bit. Maybe got a little headache. I took some Advil, I'll be fine. It's probably just inflammation. They'll dig. Oh, really? Do you have these often? It's so-and-so, isn't it? Or it's your pillow. You're not sleeping well. Or I told you not to get that dog. Or blah, 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 blah. And then to somebody else, oh, so-and-so is not sleeping well. And she's having relationship problems. And she thinks it's her dog or her pillow. I know it's not. She's probably about to get fired from work because she was complaining about that the other day. And you know what else? And blah, 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 blah. Avoid oversharing. Keep details, and especially sensitive details, to yourself. And then you got to think about, be selfish. Whatever you got to do. It could be a trigger. When so-and-so asks me to do something, I'm going to say no, I'm busy at that time. And I'm going to take that time and I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do some sort of me time. That's my trigger. That will be a reminder to spend some me time. And then sometimes you just gotta walk away. Sometimes the healthiest choice is just to cut ties. Especially if the relationship is chronically harmful. Now, I realize there are, and I do not make light, most of the toxic things I'm talking about, quite frankly, are emotionally or mentally toxic. I have, full disclosure, I've never been in a physically abusive, toxic relationship. So anything I say that if you're in a physically abusive, toxic relationship, understand you got to stop that now, whatever it takes. And we can go through all of the steps again as to why you put up with it. And it's the same. I've never been in that. So if I say something that makes it sound like I'm taking that lightly, it's just because I haven't encountered it. So please don't take it that way. So most of this is emotional. I'm able to control it now to the point to where any toxic relationships I am in and around are annoying. I've got to the point with a lot of this to where I can see it up front and I take care of it one way or another. And I use some of the steps. Not all of them always, but I use the steps and I can spot it quicker. Maybe it comes with age. I don't know. My kids will still see something I don't see. However, I have a tight circle. I have a very tight circle. My circle used to be so broad. Hey, you want in the circle? Come on in. My circle was a cul-de-sac. It's a lot tighter now. And, there's layers. I'll let you in the bigger circle, but you're probably not going to get in the inner circle. And that's me talking to myself. To get to the inner circle, you've got to be supportive. You've got to be loyal. You got to love me, and I got to love you back. And the circle of trust cannot be any better defined than that. It's a tight circle. It is full of people that support me. So it's easier to not trust. Now, there's a lot of people, because I deal with the public, that, either I speak to them, I work with them, we're on projects together, all this stuff. I can spot them very easily. And I give them opportunities to be productive. I do. and they can be productive. I don't let them in personally. And that's the key. Now, when you're working with somebody, okay, you have to be around them, just like I have to be around them. Okay, that's fine. How can I make this toxic situation productive? And the steps I did talk about, because most of it is internally with you. Spot it, know how to deal with it, make it productive. If you can't, you got to walk away. So that's important to know. So if I posted this on LinkedIn, to bring all this very simply, and it's overly simplistic, but to me, there's 3 rules in dealing with toxic people. Set boundaries, don't get pulled in, and protect your time. Time. So much time is wasted on toxic people. But by setting boundaries, say no. Say no. Don't accept that lunch, that invitation, that time. Don't let them take your time or your energy. Because after that engagement, you got something else to do. You got to be ready for that too. And that can really hurt you. So set the boundaries for yourself. Say no, and then say no to them. You anticipate that. Part of saying no is anticipating this coming. Oh, they're going to be there and they're going to want to do this. Have something ready. Now, you don't have to tell them why. That's your business. They may dig in, but you can say, no, I've got something else at that time. No, I'm busy at that time. No, I can't. No should be. If no is not good enough, there's an indicator. Don't let them take your time and energy. So set boundaries. Number 2, don't get pulled in. Meaning, when this happens, you're put on the spot, you're criticized, toxicity hits you in the face. Stay calm. Don't argue or react. That's what they want. They want drama. They want drama. You just said no. Oh. No telling what could come next. You kind of know. But stay calm. Don't get pulled in. And then 3rd, protect your time. It's to the point to where you got to limit your contact. Limit your contact. Maybe you cut off contact or just walk away. It will burn itself out. When a toxic person can't manipulate you to get their way, they can't guilt trip you or use any of those tactics, they will do one of 2 things. Well, I'll say one of 3. They'll limit their engagement, which is great. They will cut off engagement. I can't manipulate this person, so why even try? Okay, that's positive. Or they will change. Good luck with that one. However, those are 3 good alternatives. So when you set boundaries, you don't get pulled in, and you protect your time against this person. They'll limit their time, they will disengage, or they'll get better. One of those things. I'll take any of them. Okay. Now, I don't take it lightly. We do love some of these people, and it is tough. I will say this. There are jobs, and I've heard so many people say it. I've said it myself. I've been in this job 20 years, and I left. I wish I'd have left 10 years ago. I feel so free. I didn't know how stressed I was. I've heard that from so many people. You know, a toxic relationship, of course, but a job, a neighborhood, a situation. I had no idea how negatively this was impacting me. That is what you'll say on the other side of addressing a toxic relationship. I hope this helps. It's actually helped me going through it. I can look back at some things I've done. I can look back at some things I've done that I should have handled differently in hindsight. I put that in the tool bag here, and I'll address it next time differently. But I hope it's helped. I hope it addressed a lot of you. I've answered most of your emails saying this is coming. Please hit me back with hit the mark. Is there a nuance that I should talk about? Reach out to me at dave@otalks.com or david@otalks.com. I read them all. I answer them all if you're asking for an answer. Hit otalks.com. There's some stuff on there. I don't sell my stuff, but you can buy it. And then I'm excited about a lot of new sessions coming up. Give me you or your team for an hour. I'll make you more productive. I can guarantee you that. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging on. But most of all, thanks for talking with Dave. Giddy up.